Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Women Leading Boldly Summit. I'm thrilled today to have with me Samantha Kaye Harris. She is a speaker, a consultant, a certified life coach, and she's dedicated to helping women in male-dominated industries build unshakable confidence and take up space without seeking validation. She has decades of firsthand experience navigating those male-dominated environments. So I'm really excited to talk about that today. And she equips women with tools to trust their voices, stand firm in their expertise, and thrive on their own terms. She has her business, SKH Solutions, and a podcast, Rooted in Your Confidence, just empowers women to step into their power and own their place at the table. So Samantha, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about this conversation.
I am excited to be here. Thank you so much, Karen, for having me. I get excited when I get to talk about women being empowering themselves and being bold, standing up. So thank you again.
And so just tell me a little bit, why are you passionate about this subject, and why did you want to participate?
I wanted to participate because I think every woman's voice needs to be heard. And I think a lot of times we scale back. We don't show up fully as ourselves because of some type of norm, be it societal norms, traditions, may it be cultural norms. And I think we have the right to show up. We have the right to be seen and to be heard instead of backpedaling to fit into what everyone else thinks we should be or who we think we have been defined to be. And it's personal for me because I work and have worked in male-dominated industry for almost 3 decades, 25 years at this point. So I've worked in it, so I know and I understand the different, I hate to say problems but different challenges that women face. And how they step back, how they no longer show up for themselves, how they become who they think will be liked and loved to fit in. And I want women to know that you don't have to, because I remember feeling what I felt was the biggest struggles of being there. And I've seen women leave environments that are male-dominated because they feel so lost and alone and afraid. So in order to feel safe, I know for a fact it's feeling safe within yourself. So it's personal for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about it.
So tell us a little about your history your experience in a male-dominated industry, because it's 25 years, you must have seen a lot. So tell us a little bit about, how you got there, what you did. So give us a little bit of the backstory before we get into what women can do exactly and how they can evolve and stand up for themselves. Tell us a little bit your story.
Okay. For me, I've worked for the same company for 32 years. And during my tenure here in my present position or at my present job, which again, I've been there, I didn't always work in a male-dominated world. I worked with women. I was a toll collector, to be honest. And from there, my company offered a class that would allow you to learn how to do paving, how to work in a structural shop, how to work in mechanical, meaning HVAC. So I took the class because I wanted weekends and holidays off. Yes, because I didn't have weekends and holidays off. So as I stepped into this new arena with a whole different opponents, and I'm going to call them opponents because these men did not appreciate women being in these fields. They didn't think that we were qualified. Even though I learned, I passed. I have a Class A CDL. They felt we were filling a quota that the company needed. So again, I learned how to, so I stepped into the paving world and I worked in paving for 6 years. That means I laid asphalt, I mixed concrete, I laid sidewalks, I did all of the things. But I met so many challenges during the way. I remember complaining because, and it wasn't a complaint, I brought it to the attention of my supervisor that I wasn't being treated fairly, being given the work that the men were given, that jobs that allowed you to make more money. So I spoke up, and in speaking up, I hate to use the word blackballed, but that's what it was. I was blackballed, and the men said that I was taking money out of their mouths. For some reason, they don't think that women should make as much as them.
So this was at the beginning of your career. So that was
Yes.
really your first experience in a very, and I don't want to be stereotypical, but very male-dominated environment. And maybe things have changed, but at that point in time, were you the only women there, or were there others that were having similar experiences?
Well, to be honest, the company that I work for is large. So at different facilities, there may be one woman here and one woman. But at the airport that I was working at that time, I was the only woman in the paving shop. And it had never been a woman in the paving shop ever before. So when I went in, I laughed at jokes that I didn't think were funny. I kind of did little things to be seen and be accepted. Like, oh, well, let me tidy this up or let me do this in order to fit in, because I was afraid of not being accepted, afraid of not being liked, afraid of them pushing me out or thinking they could push me out. Because these are all things that run through your mind when you don't see anyone, when there's no representation for you. So it was a scary place for a long time.
And were you aware that you had changed your behavior to fit in, or was it something that you realized kind of after the fact?
I realized that after the fact, like anyone, doing the work on myself, growing into the person, the woman that I am now. And as I look back, and I still look back sometimes, I try not to live in that place, but it's so many lessons. And I'm so grateful for those lessons because it's gotten me here. But I had shifted and changed, and I became someone I did not recognize. Because I was bold, I was brave, I was courageous. Think about it, I went into this shop where there was no women ever, and I held my own. But I didn't want to be outcast because I knew what had happened to other women, because I've received so much from other facilities where women were, where you should work extra hard, you should break your back, you should do even more than the men to fit in. So that's what I was doing.
And was there something that happened at some point in time that, like, did you decide to leave? Did you want to take on more responsibility in that position? Like, where did you go from there? Did you stay forever in the paving, area? Like, what was kind of the next step for you?
Okay. For me, I stayed there, like I said, 6 years, and then I moved on to a different facility. I could no longer stay there. I was stressed. I was depressed. I had so many things going on. And everyone says, oh, just leave a job. It's not that easy sometimes when you have bills to pay, a child to take care of, so many different things going on. So I just opted to go to a different facility to work 60 miles away from home, where for the same company, driving back and forth, but I'm so grateful that I did.
Why?
I think things happen for you, not to you. So it was a blessing in that in itself, because that's when my career took a different path. I became a supervisor. I've elevated to a position now where I am in charge, where I run the show, where I do what I do. So I'm just excited that everything happened, and those were all learning lessons that got me here today.
And so how did you, was there, because that's, to take it on like that it's a learning lesson, that it happened for you, not to you. That's a very powerful mindset shift. Was it something that happened gradually? Did you have a mentor? Are you the one who had to advocate for you? Like, how did you eventually become the supervisor and head the team and have that so much responsibility now? Like, what were the moments, the key moments in time? And was it your mindset? So that's a loaded question, but I'm just curious about.
Sometimes as I think back about it, once I left the facility that I was at and moved to JFK Airport, where I am now and have been for the past 15 years, there was a shift because the people were different. I'm not saying they were more accepting or more loving or gave me more, but it was a difference. It wasn't where I was previously at. Was it the same culture? Yes, because it's male dominated. but I didn't feel unsafe. I felt unsafe. So little sparks of my personality started coming out again, where I wasn't quiet. I wasn't so reserved. I wasn't waiting for someone to tell me something. And I remember someone saying to me, Samantha, you need to go to JFK. This was before. And I was like, no, I'm okay. But I'm grateful that I did, because a supervisor there said, you need to be a supervisor. And I didn't even see it in myself at the time, because I was that broken, that afraid. And I took the leap anyway. I pushed myself. I became uncomfortable so that I can be comfortable, so that I could grow. So someone seeing something in me, and because I allowed my sparks to start to sprinkle all over the place again, that's what allowed me to move forward. And from there, I knew it was something still holding me back. I knew I wasn't growing, and I couldn't get to that next step because I was not allowing myself to fully show up. So I got a coach.
You got a coach. Okay, so you invested in coaching.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about that. How did that concretely help you? What was the impact on your life?
It was a shift and a change, because I realized I was looking for other people to stand for me, other people to protect me. I wasn't protecting myself. I wasn't growing. I thought that self-care was the same as self-love. So I learned to love myself. I learned to believe in myself. I learned to show up for myself. And it took learning who I was and peeling away all of the societal norms, all of the cultural norms, the ancestral norms, all of the intersectionality that people label you as because they feel who you are. And it allowed me to be me. And I'm not going to tell you the process was easy. It was hard. And a lot of times I remember when I realized I had to shed all of who I was in order to become who I am today. And I was broken and sad, like tears streaming down my face, tears, and breathing. My breathing was really it was so hard to breathe. I was just taken aback at the person who I wasn't being, because I was being everything to everyone else.
And so is that why you decided to become a coach?
Yes, it is, because I know that this work changes you. I know that it shifts you. It allows you to glow from the inside out. It allows you to live. It allows you to just be and be okay with being you. Yeah.
And so based on all of that experience and the work that you do today with women, what are some, and you've already started to touch on it, but what are the major mistakes that women make in a male-dominated environment?
In a male-dominated industry, when you work, you walk in, I tell people all the time, you walk in bold, you walk in brave, because 9 times out of 10, we as women, we walk in, we know or we feel, or what the world has told us, that we have to be 10 times better. We have to be 20 times better, especially women of color. We have to do all of these things. But when we get there and we see the microaggressions, meaning that the men are talking over us, they are not allowing us to fully step into our positions because they're trying to dictate what we should be doing, or they feel this is not what women do. We start to we start to doubt our own abilities. We start to look at things in a different light, like maybe I wasn't supposed to be here. Maybe this wasn't the right decision. The men may talk over you, or they have a way of standing over you to intimidate you. So it's a lot of different ways that being in these environments affect you when you're not rooted in yourself and rooted in your confidence. So that's what women face on a daily basis, or they are second guessed. Even when they are the person in an authoritative position, they're second guessed by everyone. They have to constantly prove that they're capable and able, because they are going to be questioned and asked to verify everything 4 and 5 times more so than a man.
And so concretely, so I have 2 questions. My first question is, so be brave, be bold. How does a woman do that? Like, what would that look like in terms of either her behavior or what she's thinking? Like, if there was one nugget that we could give to somebody listening to this, what is something concretely that they could do that could boost that feeling of boldness or braveness?
When I work with my clients, and when I even sometimes to this day, reminding myself or reminding yourself of all the things that you do, your qualifiers, because we forget that. We don't lean into the things that we do, how we are, how accomplished we are, all of those qualifiers to put us in those positions that give us the confidence to move forward. That's what a woman needs to do working in these environments. It's not about fighting all the time, because that's scarcity if you're always fighting, where you're always trying to prove. But when you can stand, I say it all the time, I say it because I work with young girls, 7th graders, mentoring them. And, they teach you all types of new slang. When you can stand 10 toes down, meaning confidently, and for people that's in the Bible, when they can stand and rooted, they can be grounded in something, knowing your own value that you bring. That is the key. Then you can speak with authority. You become unwavering in your opinions, your thoughts, and your directive.
So knowing your own value,
Yes.
Is that hard? Do you think women have a hard time, or is that something that can relatively easily be, I don't want to say discovered, but identified and yeah, can women easily identify with their value and what they bring to the table?
No, because we're always looking for validation. We're always looking for someone else to tell us how great we are, or we're trying to live up to someone else's expectations, or what we see on TV, what we see, or what someone wrote in a magazine, or what we see on the internet as a good mother, a good daughter, a good human. So it is hard to pull away from everything that's screaming what you should be or what validating points you have. So learning it and staying grounded in it isn't the easiest things. That's why being able to look at your qualifiers and knowing it is so important, because when you have those moments, when you're not unsure, you can lean and look and know, yes, I am. No, I don't have to be like everyone else, because my resume for myself, not even for other people in the outside world, says this, and I am proud of it, and I'm okay with it. And learning to be okay with who you are and how you're standing up is so important as a woman. So learning being safe within yourself, meaning think back. Don't move from your prefrontal cortex. Move from there. Don't get caught up, in this being, okay, I'm safe. Reassuring yourself that you're safe, you're okay, that you can move differently than what the rest of the world is saying about you.
And do you have an example of somebody who you've worked with or who you've coached that did that work, and what changed for them concretely in the workplace?
I worked with a client. She is a professional referee in the boxing arena. I call everything arena. So she's a referee, and she wasn't pursuing her dreams, her goals. She's married. She has a husband, children, and she thought she had to be everything to them. And she was not pursuing her dreams. She was, I don't have time. I have to cook. I have to do this. I have to do all the things, but be true to herself, because she didn't feel she was big. What you see as a woman, what you see, if you saw your mother doing it, if you see all your friends doing it, and you're doing something outside of the norm, you're like, oh, I'm failing. But working with her and allowing her to see that she can still have her dreams and go after her dreams and make everybody responsible for something for themselves. And you don't have to be responsible for every part of everyone else's life, no matter how much you love them. You don't have to have that control, because a lot of times we want to control it because we want to make sure that it's okay, that we're making everybody and everything okay around us, especially as a woman. Her realizing that she can be okay and be happy and go pursue her dreams was a shift when she learned to manage her time. That's a big thing. We don't manage our time well. We learn to love ourselves and make ourselves a priority and stop making everyone else responsible for our happiness, meaning we get joy from making sure the rest of the world is okay with us and who we are as women.
And so I want to come back to that a minute about setting boundaries, because that's about it. It's when we're constantly trying to please other people and we lose ourselves and we're not putting ourselves first, or we're everybody else comes first. So for example, for this woman or another client that you worked with, give me an example of something she could concretely do, and comes back maybe to also the time management piece, to protect herself, to put herself first and let the other people, be them, do their thing, and not get sucked into all of, everybody else's life. How could somebody organize their time or set a boundary?
Setting boundaries and organizing your time is letting everyone know that boundary you're putting by protecting your time and allowing everyone to see it is going to be so fulfilling to your soul. It's going to be hard at first because the boundary is hard. It's hard on us, but it's about protecting the other person and protecting yourself. It's not about punishing anyone. So for my client, it was about letting people learn responsibility, freeing up her time, which she felt more comfortable with. Now she goes from state to state refereeing. She no longer she went from an amateur referee in the boxing. Now she's a professional. How many women are professional referees in boxing? Very few. And it wasn't even about her being afraid to do it. It was about her not being afraid to not hold up her end of what she thought was the bargain as a wife and a mother. So putting that boundary in place, letting them know, it gives people respect for you and what you're doing. And that's what it built, where her husband understood that this was important. As much as she loved him and wanted to be with him, she could love something else. And it made their marriage better because it was more support. It was a better understanding. Her children cheered her on. She was no longer waiting to fit in what she loved because they saw that. And I think that's so important. Us as women teaching other people that we are as important when we set boundaries.
Yeah, it's sending a message that we're important.
Yes.
And that we count, and not everybody else has to come first.
Yes.
So,
but we aren't taught that. We've never been taught that, I don't think. We've been taught, I know growing up, my parents, my mother was always the one that showed up, did everything. My father, he participated. But a mother, she wants to make sure the scrape on the knee, the food is cooked. My mother had to be to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So she got up, she cooked, she did all the things, and she made hot cereal. She left it on the stove for us. But what expense to herself? We become exhausted and we become too tired to go after what we want, or we're irritable. So as women, when we do this, we don't allow ourselves to fully show up. We become pieces of ourselves and we don't fully embrace us.
And the other point I wanted to come back to on that you've mentioned several times that I think is just so important that we don't talk enough about is looking for that external validation.
Oof.
So we're like piling on all this stuff. It's the women doing all the things, the women having to adapt in a male environment or masculine or male dominated environment, having to set boundaries, and just tell me a little bit about the external validation and why that is such a problem for women.
Because we're looking for a return on investment. We are.
Okay. What does that mean? Tell me what that means.
A return on investment is if we're giving all of these things to someone else, if we're giving to our families their love, if we're giving to our jobs, our time and our energy, someone will see us, someone will respect us. We're looking for this. And that's why we do all the things. That's why we're looking for that return on investment. We're really not doing it because we just want to be just great women either. Honestly, let's just be honest with ourselves here. We're looking for that return. Oh, if I do that extra work at the job, if I give extra 10 minutes, if I take on the menial tasks that aren't even supposed to be, and I don't mean menial like no labor, but if instead of having someone else cut up their own paper, whatever, to go on the project, you're doing it. You're taking on extra responsibilities because if they'll respect me at some point, they'll think that I'm okay or you're going to school so you can continue to learn. The women that I work with, their favorite thing, if they understood, they want men to understand them. They want to be understood by them when you're not even understanding yourself. So we give, hoping that people will get us, understand us, and love us. I remember when I was first became a supervisor, and I used to look for someone to always have my back. I said it all the time. I had a friend, a colleague, he used to be like, make fun of me. He was like, no one got my back. No one got my back. And he did it. He gave me this plaque that I have in my office to this day. And I keep it behind me. And it says, behind every successful woman is herself. And once we learn that to have our own back, to stand for ourselves, to believe in ourselves, we're no longer looking for that return on investment. We're no longer looking for someone to have our backs because we have our own. And that's what I teach my clients: self-love, self-allyship. You know, a lot of times they tell us as women in male-dominated industries to find an ally, find someone that you can depend on, find someone that can speak up for you. That's not what women need in male-dominated industries. You need to depend on yourself. Do I think you need allies? Yes, I do, but not before you become one to yourself.
Okay, I love it, because I was going to say the validation, it's so much more powerful if it comes from within.
Yes.
And so I love the image of being your own ally.
Yes.
Because I absolutely love it.
Especially in male-dominated industries. I'm telling you, so many women, that's what they do. They look for everyone else. But that, again, that's what we've been taught our entire lives. Be a good girl.
No, it's true. It's true. But have you seen have things changed? I mean, you've been in now male-dominated industry for years. Do you see an evolution? And just a more, I'm not saying, I don't know, because I worked actually with a lot of women in more of a women-dominated industry, but I'm just curious, is there more awareness from men on how women are thinking and feeling, or how their behavior, the men's behavior that they probably don't know either that they're doing because it's been learned? Or, I mean, is there any kind of sensitivity or awareness? Has that increased?
Working in male-dominated industry, to be very honest, because of companies and needing to put things out. This is the truth. They have to have these, especially if they're getting funded by the government. They have to have these classes. But to say that there's sensitivity towards it, no. Do I work in an environment that has changed? It has, because of the culture of the job and the people, old timers that have left. But it's still the mindset, because younger people were raised by older people. But because I am who I am and I'm in the position that I am, I have a different interaction with them. And they learn something from me because I'm having conversations. I'm bringing awareness to the things that they say and that they do. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of companies, having someone to step in and to have the conversations that are needed, not so much just for the women, because the women need the training for themselves, for self-growth and self-development and mindset work, but it also has to be taught in the company of a better understanding of these women aren't there, because I think that's what's being taught. Women are there as a quota. Women are there just to fill this, that, or the other, and we're not. We're more than qualified, and we're more qualified than most men. So for us to be able to step into that and educate the employers, because everything trickles downhill. And if they're not educated, and yes, they watch a video, they see it, they check the boxes, but do they really have the conversations? You have to have the conversations in order for you as women and as a company to understand exactly what is going on. You can't just show up and think that if someone watches a video, they're going to learn something. They're not, because they don't believe it, and they need to understand where the underlying their core beliefs come from. And people aren't going to do the work outside. So it's your responsibility as an employer to make sure that women, especially when you're in when you have women in male-dominated industries, when they're alone, where they're the first, they're the only, that's going to give them the stability to stay, so you aren't always having to rehire, because it costs you more to rehire. So it's so many different ways that we can look at it and twist it, but it's just as much the responsibility of the employer as it is the woman that's in the job.
Now, I love you that you said that, because it's something that I'm also very passionate about. Is it's also up to us,
Yes,
to take that self-leadership and own our own personal growth. I think when we put it on somebody else, put it on the employer, I think the employer, it's my opinion that companies are there to create awareness on topics. They can create certain kind of environments, but deep down, it's a question of ownership and self-responsibility to take charge, I think, of our own growth, our own mental well-being. But it's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy.
it's not.
But I think at least there's a little bit more awareness around
And
that topic.
I think
We'll
that's
see.
what it comes to. It comes to awareness. Because if we weren't having this conversation, then, and we've done work, that's why we're aware. But a lot of women don't do the work because they don't
No.
know to do the work. It's so important to have these conversations, and it is our responsibility. And being in these work environments, especially when you're the only woman or few, and then we're competing with each other because God forbid another one come in, they're only going to give a certain amount of women an opportunity here.
Okay. Wow.
So it is part of the responsibility of the employer to make sure that it is a safe, non-hostile environment. And when these microaggressions happen and women have to face them every single day, it is them. It's like being at home with your family. You want to make sure that they're safe. So why wouldn't a woman want to feel safe in her job?
Yeah.
Because how is she performing? You get less of performance from a woman or any human when they feel insecure, when they don't feel safe, when they're not showing up fully as themselves, or they're tiptoeing, not speaking up, not being able to engage in meetings. So what are you paying for? You're paying a person for not showing up because of fear. So I believe that it's just as important on both parts.
Okay.
Yes, it's us for awareness as women. Yes, but we don't know it. So educating the masses is so important.
Okay. Great. Thank you. No, it's such a passionate conversation. So tell us, is there anything before we close off here that is, something that you would love to share, something we didn't address that you feel strongly about?
I think we did, because I think self-love is so important. But I want every woman to know that being your own best friend, being an ally to yourself is the key. And taking time and asking yourself the question when you feel that little twinge within yourself, that's saying that nagging thing that you're uncomfortable, asking yourself why. And that's going to allow you to explore what is going on with you and those core beliefs that will get you to that next level and help you elevate to where you want to be.
Okay. Wonderful. And if somebody wants to get in contact with you, I will share, of course, all of your contact information in the show notes. But if you could just tell the listeners, how could they either follow you or get in touch with you?
On Instagram, I am Coach Samantha Kaye. On LinkedIn, Samantha Kaye Harris. And you can email me at info@SamanthaKayeHarris.
Okay, great. And you have a podcast?
I have a podcast. Well, honestly, it airs on Monday. It will be my first one. Yes. So I'm excited about that. Yes. Rooted in your confidence, because women, we need to be rooted in our confidence. That allows us to stand up and not look for anyone to validate us. And we're not looking for that ROI. We're not looking there for that return on investment. And confidence for everyone, but it is a lot about being in these male industries that I want women to be able to stand tall, that superwoman pose, and take it on. Throw the bracelets up, whatever they're throwing at you. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I love it. And everybody go check out her podcast. Listen, give it some love. Samantha, thank you so much for being here. This was wonderful. And I'll be sure to communicate all of that in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate this. Thank you.